they pick and ban. I definitely know that Minecraft dabbers were watching the VODs, so it'll be very interesting to see if they take notes on what they were very good at.
That's it. And when you're there in a multi-day tournament like this, it's all about getting in your opponent's head. You know, you might hover some of the picks that they did really well the last game or really bad the last game.
Yep.
Get in their heads, get your coaching staff there to, you know, tell you what to do. So it'd be great to see what's out. We've got the Nautilus and the Mordekaiser bans there. So not wanting to see that Bob D bloop Mordekaiser. So he was that sort of Mordekaiser, the Tristana of that Patico from the Titanic could not get past. You know, once he reached that mid game with the Leandres and the Rylays combo, there was no way.
Couldn't get past him, yeah, and he was very good in team fights. He's getting multi-man hooks, and the Rakan ban, actually, which is quite good. Rakan has always been a fairly strong and meta support, very mobile, very strong team fight. So...
MF again, a meta ADC banned out, 55% win rate there, still dispatch.
MF is still very, very strong, especially with paired with the right support. She can go with engaged tanks, she can go with more defensive options, she can even go with things like Zillion. All of them work very well with Misfortune, and seeing that crit AD carries are not super in the meta currently, she really shines.
And Yasuo seemingly out of nowhere. I guess they just don't want to deal with any fancy bot lane combos that their teams may have been preparing.
I see the Morgana lock-in, most likely for support. Could be a bot lane pick, but most likely will be in that support. Very good against engaged supports. It's a little interesting to see it first picked. It's normally a counter pick, but especially paired with a couple AD carries that can follow up on her CC, is a very strong pick.
We do have a hover of Trundle here by Coelis. I wonder if he will pick a Trundle very good against tanks. Oh, we have the Warwick instead.
Ooh, I like the Warwick.
Really strong Warwick.
Always a
Kaios,
fan
of course, last game, 200 CS to 133 of his opponent on Warwick.
I definitely do like the Warwick pick. Does well early. Once you get tank stats and more levels in your E, you become quite a tank late. And the Ahri mid lane pick. That'll be interesting. Looks like we've got the Graves reply on a pick against Warwick. So Graves, while Warwick is very strong early, Graves is quite good at 1v1ing those melee champions, as well as keeping very, very strong jungle pressure. And the Jhin lock-in.
I'm excited to see Bear of the South once again on Jhin. Yesterday, you know, the lane phase was looking shaky, but he really stepped up in those team fights, hitting W's on every pick. And in the mid game, I think he ended up that game like eight kills up now. Thanks to that pick.
And then he's also got the Morgana with him, so it's very easy for him to hit those W's directly after those Morgana Qs. And the Teemo lock-in, which is interesting, so that should be a Teemo top. It does open them up to be counterpicked a little. On Aatrox, especially those two, can go very well into Teemo, and neither have been banned, so it'll be interesting to see if they try to counter it, or if they just try to play a bruiser melee champion, and then try to let it scale into the late game after they have to deal with Teemo for about 10 minutes.
Definitely, and you know, I counted Sasuke out, you know, looking at his OP.OC.GG, I was like, this top laner, he doesn't know how to play anything, and he really showed me by playing that Cal really well, so this Teemo pick might be something he pulls out of the bag.
So we see the Set, Diana, and Varus ban right now. Varus is a very strong pick in bot lane currently. Can go early game lethality and just absolutely one-shot people with Qs, or you can really scale into the late game. So one of the things that, especially having a Graves in your team, is you don't want super hard late game scalers. And the the Swain lock-in ban. So I don't see Swain anywhere else rather than support currently. At least when I play games, and I do think that he's not very good into Morgana, but it may be it would probably be it's definitely a support ban, so it's interesting that they use that. And the Thresh lock-in. Thresh, while technically weak into Morgana, is still very strong with his lantern and whatnot.
That's it, and we do have Lasercake picking up another mid laner that can poke with the Zerath.
Zerath, I like it. I definitely enjoy Zerath, so it'll be very interesting to see if he can sidestep REQs and REs, because if he can keep his movement while keeping poke down, RE just cannot lane against a good Zerath. And the Aatrox pick. So Aatrox is quite a counter pick into Teemo, because Teemo can't blind a lot of Aatrox's damage, seeing Aatrox's Q and W are skills. They're like abilities. They're not auto attacks. So it's very easy for Aatrox to keep Teemo at a distance. The only problem becomes if he doesn't play around Teemo's shrooms correctly, or if he can't hit his Qs correctly, because with Teemo's movement speed boosts. And the Draven lock-in. I'm
Yeah, we do have a carry ADC in the Draven.
very excited for the Draven lock-in. So he snowballs a lot stronger than what Jhin does. Draven can become extremely impressive at one item, let alone like 3 or 4, whereas Jhin normally needs about 2 to 3 to really start get rolling. So the only problem I have with Triumph's team is that a lot of their champions are slightly off theme with each other. I think the main problem I have is with Teemo. He doesn't have engage, like how, because Ahri and Draven want someone that can jump in first, which is definitely with the Warwick. But Warwick in the mid game gets very squishy. So because you don't normally get too tanky too early, and you max your E last, which is the damage resistance and whatnot, what happens is what's I'm trying to look for here. I've actually lost my train of thought because I just looked over at Twitch chat. So the problem is with Warwick is that mid game, he doesn't have too many resistances, so he will just have a lot of problems being frontline in the mid game. And then of course Teemo won't bring anything to that other than having a lot of lane pressure. So Teemo will really have to try to keep lane pressure, not allow the jungler to get anywhere near him, make Aatrox's life hell if he can dodge his Qs and whatnot. And then if he keeps all that pressure up, it's very hard for Minecrafters to force fights.
That's it. I am kind of worried for this Triumph because it seems like they don't really have anything front to back. Warwick, I know, likes to play at the side a lot, using his ult to get into the enemy ADCs, but nothing that can really protect Draven besides the Thresh. And looking at this team with Jhin, Graves, Aatrox, that Thresh might die in only a couple of seconds flat. So team fight definitely favored towards the epic Minecraft Abbas.
Yep, but definitely they'll need a couple items to get themselves going. Aatrox normally wants a Black Cleaver and a Death Stance before he team fights, because otherwise he can get blown up. If he presses his R and doesn't hit a bunch of Qs, he won't get enough healing to keep himself sustained to get something like a Draven and an Ahri. But he's got the Morgana behind him to give him that CC. He's got Jin's long range slows and damage. It'll be quite interesting to see how they play it, because neither team is specifically super team fighty. They're both kind of half team fighty, half lane pressure, and definitely skirmishes.
Yeah, that's right. And we saw a lot of that yesterday with the skirmishes in the mid game, fighting for that dragon control. I know that Fatality, the support on the Triumph side, had 50% kill participation. You know, just roaming around the map, making sure he was always super involved in setting up those great picks around the dragon pit. So we'll see if we see a lot of those fighting. Both teams getting Elder Soul, I believe, in the last 2 games. So that you're going to see that hotly contested here tonight.
Yep. And seeing that both bot lanes are quite strong with the Morgana Q and the Thresh Q, with the amount that they can be ganked and pressure around Dragon. It'll be very interesting to see how the early Dragon fights go, seeing that both Graves and Warwick are both early game junglers. Morgana and Thresh are very potent CC, and Jhin and Draven at first item. That's more Draven than Jhin, but they're both quite strong at first item.
Yeah, that's right. And I am looking here for Spelljinxer to step up, because in the last game he wasn't really much of a carry potential as the mid laner Irie, only going 135 CS to the 175 of his lane opponent and 115 overall in the game. So not too much impact there in his team's victory. I am looking for him to step up because these picks need to happen from that Irie charm.
They sure do. Now we should be loading into game. The screen will be black for a little bit, stream. Just give it a moment while it loads in, and it should pop up. So I'm also quite interested to see here the rune choices once we get into this champion select. Here we go. Let's just see if the stream... Yep, the stream's picked it up now. So we've got Fleet Footwork plus Resolve on Graves, which is interesting. Normally I would go Phase Rush. Or if I went Fleet Footwork, I'd normally take Sorcery Secondary, mostly for Nimbus Cloak. Nimbus Cloak is just so strong on Graves. If you're kiting someone, you red smite them, and then you can just navigate team fights very easily. Jin, once again, like last game, is going Dark. Like last time Jin was played, is going Dark Harvest. So he's looking to stack 80 early, try to really hit Draven by using his Q to kill minions. Let's see what... I don't see too many other variations in runes.
Yeah, seems pretty standard across the board from the majority of the teams.
Cool, so I'm in, and currently at 0-0.
Yep, same here.
I'll just pause when I get to 5 seconds just to double triple make sure that we get in game. That we get the same.
Roger.
Okay, I've paused at 5 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna unpause on 1, 3, 2, 1.
Done.
Sweet. Now that should have our cameras on. Cool.
Cool. So we've got good luck, have funds coming in from the Irie and the Warwick. Here having a good fight as both teams looking out to just protect their jungles.
Yeah, and it'll be quite interesting to see how they decide to play around this. I'm just going to quickly reorder the scoreboard. I don't believe there will be an engage. I think they're just fanning out to protect.
Hopefully this isn't a Iron 5 invade, but it looks like both teams pretty content with just protecting their own jungles, not wanting anything fancy from both sides.
Now what's interesting is I've just realized that I believe the Draven is actually up top. And I believe it's a Teemo 80 carry.
You may be right there. The Morgana Black Shield against that. Does the Black Shield block blind?
It does block blind. It does. So Teemo would have to get, at level 1, he would have to get 2 auto attacks off to remove the Black Shield to then blind. To get enough magic damage to remove the shield. But then it also allows... It also allows, if he Qs, and because his Q will delete a rank 1 Morgana shield, so he can Q, and then Thresh can follow up. So it's actually got a decent amount of pressure against it, so I like it. Looks like the junglers are just doing a standard start at their reds. Draven's just protecting his top laner's red, actually putting down a ward. Seeing Graves is quite strong in the early game, he will try to pressure the jungler's red. Sometimes you can just go red to mid to red if you think you really have a good chance. But it looks like both junglers are just going to full farm their side that they're starting on to get level 3 and then work from that.
That's it. I'm very curious to find out if the Teemo swap with the Draven was intended from Champion Select or whether or not they just discussed that in the loading stream, figuring out that Teemo against this Morgana bot might actually be very worthwhile for their team in the early game.
Well, Tuppy was the 80 carry last game, and Sasuke was the top laner last game, so it may just be a hidden pick from Sasuke, or it may have just been a switch. I actually didn't take note if they swapped in Champion Select, but they may have just swapped to try to avoid the counter from Teemo.
Here in the bot lane, they get a binding onto the Thresh. Teemo has to use heal and the ignite, and the final shot from the Jhin passive, fourth passive, and puts his mastery page up with the first blood there in the bot lane.
Now, I'm sorry I missed that. I was actually watching the trade out top. I believe that was bot lane pushed in. Minecrafter's bot lane pushed in, got level 2 first. Morgana Q into Jhin W, I believe. That's what happened.
That's it. Morgana Q straight to Jhin W, chapped onto the Thresh, and couldn't get out there even with the heal.
Yeah, and that's one of the potencies of this duo here, that they just have, well, at level 1, that's 2.5 seconds of CC. Now, Warwick is actually looking into Graves' jungle, but Graves is just smiting away. Draven is pushing in Aatrox. Aatrox is not going to have a fun lane currently, but do remember Draven is quite squishy, and Graves can very much burst him down in a gank. So it'll be interesting to see if he overextends, if he'll get punished, but that ward from Warwick definitely keeps him safe.
That's it, and we have a Death Sentence into the bot lane, but the Black Shield prevents the Flay and the Death Sentence, but we have Ignite going into the Jhin. Jhin is going ham with the passive. Fourth hit, Morgana gets the final kill. Jhin surviving on 1 HP, Thresh flashes, Binding gets him, but he does pick up the trade kill. Flay misses, and Thresh should be picked up by Morgana pretty easily. Might not be able to get out, but the Death Sentence...
He's delaying it, but I don't believe he'll be able to get out. There he goes, and looks like in mid lane there's a gank. Oh, all the CC landed, and she's gone.
And Warwick can't get there in time to do that save. So already a very bloodthirsty game with Morgana picking up 2 kills, 150 gold bounty, and Jhin picking up 1 on the blue side as well.
Yep, very much like it. So it was basically just Graves W to slow the Ahri down into Aatrox stun, W, Q, and then Graves auto-attacking Qing. Very high damage combo. Just annihilate her though before she get away from it.
And that's the scariness of this Morgana, right? Because once you pick up those early kills and start building those AP items, you actually turn to this sort of secondary mid laner. And with the strength of this team's picks of Dark Binding and Q's and Jin's W, the Deadly Flourish as well, you're going to be picking people from a screen away, almost like a Zoe.
It's going to get very scary to be able to fight against. So they're really going to need vision control in the mid game to make sure that they're not just walking into an absolute death trap.
But we see here in the top lane, Draven is 35 CS to this Aatrox 11, so your standard melee champ versus a range champ, with the Draven constantly putting Aatrox under turret and trying to poke him down. So we'll see if there will be a dive setup in the future potentially, once Warwick hits that 6.
Yep. And it's a very, very good punish into the Aatrox pick. Seeing a lot of Aatrox's nerfs have been to his early game across when he got popular, like when he got reworked, when he got popular. He had a very strong early game that got nerfed continuously, so he's very much about trying to stay alive in the early game and then scaling up. Which against some champions like Teemo, he can annihilate in the early game, but because of the pick against him, he really has to play safe and just bleed CS, but try to get as much XP as possible and then work from there.
Yep, and in the mid lane, Ari is keeping up with the CS, so unlike last game, has gone to the training room to keep up in that CS with the mid lane. So going strong there, having died only to that gank from the enemy jungler there in the mid lane.
Yeah, definitely. I can see Graves possibly pathing around the back here. A very smart path. So it'll be interesting to see if he can pull this gank off. He should be walking all the way around. He's shown himself.
No wards, but Draven is a bit in front and tries to go directly for that Aatrox. Flashes forward to try to secure that kill. Does ult him and does get that 300 gold bounty. Can he actually kill this Graves here? Not enough damage. Bubble Boy picking up the trade kill onto Sasuke in the top lane.
Yeah, very nicely done. I do believe that it would have been probably better for him to walk all the way around the back. Just get that true pincer into him. The fact that Draven had a couple of seconds to realize what was happening and reposition did kind of mess it up. I'm not sure if Aatrox would have lived either way. Now look in bot lane here.
And we see Warwick trying to pick up the Dragon as Thresh Destinus to punish the Morgana, trying to check that. Black Shield does stop him. Jin W and Dark Binding onto the Thresh gets him, and Morgana might heal there with the passive from the rune as Aatrox TP's in onto the Teemo, gets him with the pull and gets the Zerath almost with the ult as Draven moves forward to try to finish off Jinro's in the backline. Ari is 1v1ing the Aatrox, does get the plan to kill but can't actually get the kills as we have action all over the place. Graves trying to kill and Draven can't secure the kills onto the Zerath with Jin surviving on 20 HP. Wow, look at that bloodbath with a 2-for-1 straight in for the red side team.
And Savage, this is an absolute bloodbath. Apparently, I believe they may just be memeing, but there may also be lag. There's actually been some server issues over the past couple of days. I remember with Champion Select, sometimes it was messing up. And also I had a game where I disconnected from my game just as Elder Dragon spawned. We lost that game. But yeah, no, very, very bloody fight. Now, Triumph did actually walk away with Dragon there, and that Infernal will scale really well, especially with the Draven. However, unfortunately, just to do with how good the Aatrox teleport was, how he teleported earlier than Draven did, how he got a really good kill onto Thresh, extending his ultimate, and then he was able to stack up his Conqueror and just fight anyone that came up in front of him, which then allowed Graves to get in the backline and just fight Ari and Warwick, I believe it was. So yeah, it was very bloody fight. A lot of the kills going onto Graves though, so he doesn't scale as hard. He'll normally go into a lethality item and then maybe either another lethality item or a Black Cleaver, but from there he starts to fall off. So if he needs to use his early lead and his early damage lead to try to forward his laners that scale a bit better than him, like Aatrox and Zerath, because if he hoards the money and keeps hoarding kills, then his team may fall off.
That's it, and we see here in the top side another fight going on between Aatrox and Draven as Graves is coming in for the pursuit, wanting to get this kill onto the Draven. Let's see if he gets the trade this time. Yes, he does still get the trade, and Warwick does come in with the infinite duress, trying to chase down the Graves. And let's see if he picks up the trade kill, but Graves is continuing to fight. Having that new Destiny passive, it just allows him to stay in the game.
Yeah, and also if Warwick keeps extending the fight, Graves can get more and more dashes, and the more dashes he gets, the more army stacks up, and the more army stacks up. That means it's very hard for Warwick to continue that fight. I saw from the little circles going around Graves that Warwick was actually trying to press Q onto Graves and just didn't get it, but it looks like, okay, he gets out there. He was just getting pressured away from the scuttle.
And interesting to see what Bubba Boy does. So obviously, the Graves carry 5-0 this game with 550 a bounty on him. Good, just going for the Shelly right now. But last game, carrying on the Rex side, 10-4-12. So a huge impact on this team. Looks like he's making that same huge impact this game around.
Yeah, it's very, very good. Just all this pressure, all this, these team fights going well for them, just all accumulating into a decent lead. It'll be very interesting to see how they use it. They should be, as I was just saying it, they're taking out Rift Herald. Warwick is around bot side. He can try to look for a gank. He does not have his ultimate up, but he does have that bomb fruit.
That's it. And they do have vision of him just passing by saying, "Hello Warwick, how are you?" There's nothing doing there.
Yeah,
We
it's
do
very
have on
hard
the
for him
top
to get.
lane
Oh,
a
sorry.
40 CS difference between Aatrox and Draven. Is this going to have a huge impact with such a large difference between top laners?
Yeah, that's... I'm just trying to calculate how much there's in my head. That is more than a kill worth. Actually, just looking in bot lane. Thresh...
Death sentence missing there as the W pick up with the binding on the Morgana so strong yet again, preventing that gank altogether. As Graves comes in with the assist, they do get the Jin slow on him with the E flowers. Morgana might be able to pick up this binding on Thresh. Thresh with a flash still does only do the box and does try a death sentence, but didn't use the flash to get out of there. As the Jin W does miss, but he does pull out with the Curtain Call to see if he can get the kill. Graves mixed with the Curtain Call. Can he get the last shot? No, he doesn't.
Unfortunately not. That was a very, very good counter gank from Graves. Could tell from Warwick trying to duck his head in before that he was around, probably doing his blue, waiting for his ult to come back up, so he made a very smart choice to run back down and counter the gank. Seeing Graves is very, very ahead of Warwick, especially in items. Up in top side though, Graves and Draven... Sorry, not Graves and Draven, sorry, Aatrox and Draven trading. Yeah, Aatrox will start to fill the CS differential. Definitely more than a kill in gold difference, and also experience difference as well. As you can see, the XP difference. Seeing that he teleported bot when the wave was pushing into him, he lost a lot to his tower. So it's definitely something that he'll feel, and he's going to have to spend a lot of time in the side lane catching up. Unfortunately for Draven though, it's quite hard for him to side lane compared to an Aatrox. He can get picked off quite easily if he decides to solo side lane. So it'll be very difficult for them to keep Draven ahead while also trying to give something like Teemo farms. They may have to move Teemo into the side lane, who has heal, so he doesn't have the teleport strength that Aatrox does, and then they may have to keep Draven with Thresh.
Yeah, and I am really worried for this Sasuke. So even though he does have this huge lead against the Aatrox in the top lane, he's just going to get deleted by this Graves 6-0. And the amount of damage items that he has on him means that in team fights, I don't think he can stand more than 3 seconds. As we see Dragon coming up, and both teams vying for vision control. Might see another fight break out here.
Yeah, I do think... Oh, and actually Draven killed Aatrox on the top side under a tower dive. Very well done by him. I was watching Dragon, the Tussler and Dragon, but he is extending his lead very well. So if he continues that, he's going to pick up a bunch of tail plates. If we look at Dragon here, the Jinxer is looking for a possible steal, but I don't think he'll be able to get it.
And with huge amounts of damage towards Ahri, overstaying her bounds, impossible for her to get in there, and they just pick up that kill, but the Graves are godlike now, 7 kills to 0, and Warwick trying his best to make up the god by taking over the enemy's top jungle, but with so many objectives and so many turrets already on to the blue side way, I don't know if they can come back from this gold deficit.
Yeah, it'll be quite difficult. Graves is not building the best that he could be building, in my opinion. He's facing a very squishy team, and the best bet he would have there is to take a Yomu's Ghostblade instead, because it gives him the out of combat movement speed, which allows him to get back and forth with fights. It gives him lethality, so no one's really going to have much armor until probably about 2 items in. So if he got that lethality early, he'd be able to literally one-shot anyone. Unfortunately, pardon me, unfortunately, seeing as going the Black Cleaver, he'll have more mobility in the fights, but he may not have as much damage. If we just have a quick look at the gold, we can see that Draven is 2k above Aatrox right now. We can see that, and also a 2k difference back the other way for Graves. About just below 1,000 in favor of his Wraths, because he's been in those fights and picking up assists. And it looks very, very in favor of bot side with Jhin against Teemo.
That's it. And I'm very curious to see this Aatrox's build, being so far behind in lane phase, is he going to be that tank for his team, blocking the damage, trying to make sure Jin can show his carry potential there? Because if he doesn't, maybe he's not tanky enough to withstand that, and they might start losing some team fights in the mid game.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's trying to go for the Death Stance, it seems. I personally prefer Aatrox getting Death Stance second, but then also he could have the opportunity to try to go for a Kindle Gem, basically get a stun his item growth now to get more CDR to be able to sit in lane more, spamming his spells on minion waves. Now there's a possibility he could get dived here, but it looks like Warwick's just trying to get vision to protect the Draven.
Yeah, 100% Aatrox with his ult up is difficult to dive. Even though Draven is so far ahead in items, not sure they can pull the damage, and always afraid of that Graves counter gank.
However, it looks like they are looking for it. Draven has chunked him to about 60% HP.
Let's see how Aatrox plays this. He does ult immediately, doesn't dodge the death sentence, and immediately pull down. Turret damage not enough to kill Draven, as Jin is going for the trade in the bot lane with Graves and Morgana. Might see a trade of turrets, secondaries in the bot lane, but tier 1s in the top.
And for the most part, pushing Draven's lead is very important, and a lot of these kills are still going on to Graves, apart from Jin picking up a couple. They definitely have to, they are backing up now. I don't think they're going to be able to get this tower. Thresh will be there in a second, Team will be there in a second. They have to back up. The map pressure they get from it, from around dragons, won't be really felt until they can get the mid tier 1, because then they have the full freedom to ward this blue side jungle a lot easier. While the mid tier 1's up, they still have, it's still a little bit hard for them to move along the side of wolves and the back of blue. But apart from that, it's very good. It's very good pressure. It allows them to start pressuring this Ocean Dragon. And even though Aatrox is behind, if he gets Ocean Soul from his team doing quite well, he just does not die in team fights.
Yeah, that's right. And luckily for the Triumph side, they did secure that first Drake. So even though they are losing a lot of map control, it's okay. They're buying enough time with that first Drake secure. So we won't see Soul anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be interesting to see if one of the teams tries to go for the second Herald, seeing that Minecrafters will very much be able to break down mid lane and then get that pressure around Dragon if they get it. But then also with Triumph, if they can possibly get it around Draven maybe and get him another lead where they kill Aatrox, they can take 1 to 2 towers with that lead, because Draven can just shred towers. So it looks like they may be trying to collapse on him up top lane, or at least just get pressure for this Herald, as I was saying.
That's it, and this Morgana does have stopwatch bought right now, so really strong in baiting the enemy into attacking her, getting that stun off and getting the team fights, but they are going to go for the Rift Herald, trying to break some more of this space, get more of those towers, and extend that gold lead, which is now 4k at 16 minutes.
Yeah, and it's very, very situated on top of the Graves and on top of the Jin, especially. There's probably, I'll just double check, there's definitely still a K lead in mid lane, but definitely the big leads are in jungle and an AD carry, so I'm very interested to see once Dragon spawns in about a 20 seconds. Now, just checking, the only thing is there is actually a decent amount of gold on Minecraft's mid lane that has not been spent yet. There's about 1.3k. That's about an easy large rock. Actually, in mid lane here.
As you see, almost a catch onto them, a flash by immediately infinite duress onto the Graves. It does get out there. It does get killed, shut down onto the Thresh. Irie surviving on 1 HP, almost picked up by this Raz as the Dark Binding goes onto the Thresh. He's eventually killed as Warby goes lower as well. And the Jin damage is huge. But in the back, no one's touching the Draven at all. He was coming out to the Morgana, but does die to the Teemo. And we see this mid-game power spike by the Draven. Finally, flashes in for the 700 gold bounty. Look at these kills that they come in, and he does survive with the 86 HP as Red Side showing them who's boss in the mid-game.
My goodness, and there it is. The investment put onto Draven has come back in their favor. Unfortunately for them, they threw all of their CC onto people that didn't technically really matter. Ari has not got a whole bunch of kills and is only sitting on a Loon's Echo. Warwick is not that strong in 1v1s. He's not ahead. They used a lot of their CC onto people that didn't really matter, and then Draven was just able to turn around and just free fire in the backline. The only time he really took damage was from the tower itself trying to tower dive. So very, very well played by this Draven here. He's going to become definitely much of a threat, but the only problem that comes is that all of their gold lead is now stacked onto their Draven. It's quite a bit, but it's still only onto Draven. So if Draven gets caught by a Morgana binding and does not have his team to back him up and protect him, and he dies, his team has nothing now.
That's it. But we saw that immediate BF sword and RFC finish from the Draven as they dance around this Dragon. We can see if Draven can pick up some few kills here. I think if another team fight goes their way, they might bring this game back. Gold parity almost now, and this fight's going to be a big one.
Yep, they've dropped Rift Herald in mid lane to pressure mid lane, so Ari's had to go answer that Rift Herald. They've taken the mid lane tower. Draven has used his ultimate for vision and for damage, but it looks like the AoE damage of Xerath and Morgana just does not let them move into this fight.
That's it, the poke preventing them from going forward at all. They do need to set up vision earlier than that to make sure they can try to get those picks, but again, the Dragon goes over to the blue side.
Definitely. So, it was actually quite funny. I noticed that because Morgana's Q lasts for so long, the Teemo went invisible while waiting for the CC to go off. Because he was standing still for that long.
That's it. As we see here, the team's positioning themselves in the mid lane, looking to get something, anything with that Jhin W, but nothing doing as both teams just farming out slowly. We have hit a sort of point where both teams really want to fight, knowing, you know, that last team fight was pretty big, and it seems like the next fight, whoever wins that, the game may break open.
Yeah, definitely. We're looking at the only thing I can definitely critique right now is the items when it comes to trinkets. For the red side for Triumph, both their support and their jungler still have the warding totem, and their AD carry still has a warding totem as well. So the AD carry should be having Farsight to be like the teamer should have Farsight. Actually, it looks like they're trying to brute force Baron. This is a very interesting thing. Draven does not have lifesteal, but I think he has Legend Blood. I'm just gonna quickly double check.
They have no clue this is
happening. He has Ravenous Hunter.
Just now coming in with her trinket and finally.
I think they've got it. They have.
But they've got it.
And
they've
you know,
just snuck it.
Using that Draven's lead is very, very good. It just depends if they can get anything with it. All of their lanes are pushing into them. So they're going to have to use about at least a minute of this Baron to reposition the waves correctly. Unfortunately, for the Minecrafters, if they can get their waves set, Draven with Baron empowered minions is very, very hard to stop. He will run you down, he will destroy your towers, he just has so much raw AD.
That's it, and we do have the classic sieging in the mid lane against a poke team in the laser cake, so we're going to see if this Xerath can help his team stop this push by just poking the enemy down, trying to get it. He doesn't have blue buff though, so he might not be able to slow the stem, but he can at least delay some of these.
Yep, he needs to keep auto-attacking in between his abilities to keep proccing Xerath's passive, but it's quite up for him to walk up to them now, seeing that the only thing left is the cannon. And
all it takes though is one member of Triumph to overstep their bounds, maybe the Draven being too far ahead killing minions, and the simple Morgana Dark Binding into the Jhin W can really spell the end of them immediately.
Definitely can. And you can see with the Baron power play, it's very hard, even with the poke comp, to actually kill these minions. I do believe that they should be moving Teemo or Draven into a side lane. I believe Teemo probably best to at least 4-1 this, if they can have multiple lanes pushing at once. Because I think they've realized now that they can't just brute force 5-on-5, seeing all of their damage is fairly short range compared to the damage of their opposition. So they're moving Draven into the top lane, they're moving Teemo into the bot lane, and they're going to try to correct their way to the rest of the Baron. But it looks like Minecrafters may be trying to look for something here.
That's it. We can see they can synchronize some of these pushes as Draven goes up, but sending 3-4 members now towards that top side as Tim is just trying down bot to try to get that first primary in the bot lane. But they might not be able to get anything much off this Baron, maybe a bit of map control, as we see 1 minute 30 before the Ocean Drake spawns for both teams.
And map control is still very, very valuable for them. If they can break towers like our team is trying to do right now, it will definitely put them in a better position. If they get another win, it means that they can push the next win even further. I think Draven noticed that they were coming around because Morgana had swept a Teemo Shroom and was auto-attacking it. So when you auto-attack a swept trap, it'll show it as visible. Like, it'll show you as well, auto-attacking it. So you obviously saw the Morgana rotating and sweeping, and then backed off with the respect of the possibility that there was more people. It looks like Aatrox has pressed his ultimate.
He does. Ari Charm immediately gets him to CC. He's down to half, and Death Sentence does pick him off. Can they get the kill? No, they don't. Graves honestly counter kill onto the Tuppy as the Thresh flashes again. The last team fight flashed for a kill as well, as he death sentences the Graves and will die for his troubles, going over to Lasercake in the mid lane.
And if the death timers were a little bit longer, I would definitely say it's worth, but unfortunately, the Aatrox will be back up with a teleport around the dragon fight. I definitely love the aggression, but let's hope it pays off, because he won't have that for the dragon fight. And Triumph really, really want to press this dragon, but it looks like possibly.
Graves immediately eing in to try to get a pick on Teemo as Morgana steps onto the Shroom. These Teemo Shrooms are playing dividends, and we might see, you know, eventually when he starts putting those key AP items like Leandries, that might start to do a lot of damage, and this dragon control might be too much for the other team to handle.
Yep, and it's, you know, it forces enemy team to always have to use sweepers, so they can't hold on to their sweepers for the most important spots, as you could put in quotation marks. So the pressure's very strong. They need to wait for Thresh to come back, whereas Aatrox does have teleport. He can almost go top and push and wait for the teleport, but it's kind of down to them. The dragon fight will go pretty quickly. They're actually starting it without the Thresh there.
Forward, and Graves immediately goes in, tries to hold the warbing, and does get the kill. There is no smite. It is no longer.
I think they've got to back up. I don't think they can kill this. Graves does have smite.
Graves is pushing in and does get the smite. They kept on going, and Teemo gets killed for his troubles as Draven runs the wrong way and he's getting cornered. But I don't know if they know he's still in there. Yes, they do. They do run up.
Now
Can they get the shutdown? Who are they going
to? He does have flash. He does have flash. Oh,
he got one. He flashes in and does kill the Morgana immediately, but cannot kill him. And they do give it to the Zerath. 1,000 gold in the bank for that mid laner.
Yep, and now with that shutdown onto Zerath, now he's 2k ahead of his opponent. If you look at the damage though, Draven is nearly double Aatrox's gold. Nearly double. It's 6,500 to 12,400. It's an insane gold lead that is definitely going to show if they can play around them correctly. We've got a gold lead for the Minecrafters, about 2k, sorry, 1.5k around about in the bot lane there. Actually, no, my eyes do deceive me. It is 2k.
Yep, and I will mention that Draven did, for the first time in the UWAnime LoL tournament, flame Horizon his opponent by getting 100 CS more than the Aatrox before he died. So our first flame Horizon here for the tournament.
Jeez, and especially with the XP difference as well, will definitely show as these 2 levels below, I believe. He's pretty close to hitting 13. I think he'll take him, if not this wave, the next minion wave. So he's just headed off this wave, and I believe, let's see what Draven's XP is like. He's about halfway through, so he's still about a level and a half above, and levels do certainly give a lot of gold worth of base stats, and then also the fact that he has that Infernal on top will mean more and more. He's sitting currently on 264 AD, so he'll probably be looking for possibly lifesteal soon. He might try to go for a QSS, I'm not sure.
Yep, that's it. And, you know, this dragon that's coming up in 3 minutes, blue side has secured 3 of them, and they are going for this soul. Hold my thought.
They're on vision.
Fancy going on in this top side, as they do have the vision, and the Dark Binding comes in onto Thresh, as the teamer is just sitting there watching his Thresh die, not wanting to show himself. No, but this could be a Baron play here from the blue side.
I believe they saw Teemo walk in and go invisible, so it's interesting that they didn't keep going. They may have forgotten, they may have not noticed, but Teemo definitely would have shown before he would have turned invisible. But he's got the flank there. He will be on vision. They will notice him. He's going to put some shrooms down. He's probably going to run away. So only Morgana there, so they can't pressure him down. But for the most part, it was quite smart for him to stay invisible. It's not that smart of an idea to just bleed kills around a Baron fight. But yeah, definitely blue threatening that Ocean Soul will be very, very scary, as we see a possible pick here.
Poking down the teamer as he can't actually get out of there, and he does get the kill onto Laser Cake, so that bounty that he got, 1,000 gold, already paying dividends with the Luden's Echo Merlin on comes by. So we see a catch onto the Warwick, straight into the W, and the Dark Binding onto the Warwick as he has to use Infinite Duress to get out of there. But we see immediately the Jhin trying to pick that up with the Kernel Call, but Thresh does stop it.
And the Zerath
comes in and pick up the kill.
Sweeps in and gets it. Now they just need to pressure the Baron here. So now the enemy jungler is dead. They can't outsmite Graves. The only thing is, Graves and Aatrox are both not super tanky. Graves does have his death sense now, so he can stay fairly alive. But there's no true tank, seeing Aatrox is only just sitting on death sense of how behind he is in items. Draven has got a QSS now. He does ult there, but it was fairly good timing, but it was just off.
It, and they do back to reset for this Ocean Drake that is spawning in 1 minute 20. And I think with these objectives that are coming through, 5k gold difference now with the Graves with 300 gold bounty, and it's a Wrath coming in strong with all those bounty pickups. I think he got 2.5k in total from all these bounty pickups, is now 418. So we're going to see something happening in a minute, and they might just pick up this soul with these.
Yep, and I personally think Red's hesitating a little bit. They should it's normal, very, very common for people to reset after Baron. They should be trying to hard shove these waves as quickly as possible before the enemy team is able to reset and get back up on the map. Because if the mini waves keep on pushing into them, it's very hard for them to walk up and try to contest this dragon. However, 3 of blue team is up on top side. They are just resetting now, so they would be resetting, trying to get ready for this ocean that's spawning in about 35 seconds.
Yep, 35 seconds, and neither of the teams have vision around it. We can finally see Graves and Zerath moving down, but I don't think they actually have any wards that they can play. So they do have the plant, but nothing that gives them pure wards, and Teemo hasn't started setting up any shrooms at all. So red side not really in a position to fight for vision right now with 20 seconds left to go. This might be a giveaway. They might not want to fight here.
Yeah, and the problem becomes if you don't fight for it, then the enemy team gets what's normally considered the strongest Dragon Soul. So it's once the enemy team gets this, it becomes a very, very hard dance. As Aatrox presses R...
As you see here, Aatrox immediately pulls it onto the team, gets the 2-man lockup as the Ari Charm comes in, but doesn't save the day as Draven trying to deal damage, but Aatrox is way too tanky, even with the Grievous Roost. Thresh, Descendants trying to save him, but Graves does get him, picks up the plan for good measure, as Teemo in the background tries to get the kill onto Rocket Rocks, eventually does with the trade there, but blue side picking up that objective, and they are picking up that soul.
There's a bit of solo queue tilt in the old chat there, but for the most part, as you can see, League of Legends is a team game, and even if you're a super fed Draven, if you can't have your team back you up and you can't get an easy entrance into team fights, the rest of the team having a 2+ K lead on your team really, really stacks up in the end. So now they have Ocean Soul. Aatrox being behind like half of Draven's gold now no longer matters because he has Ocean Soul. He will just always be able to beat Draven basically now, or at least other people other than Draven. It doesn't matter that he's losing in gold because he has Ocean Soul. It's just such a strong buff that'll keep him alive in a lot of fights, and especially added in with his Death's Dance, he'll just be able to frontline for ages and ages, which will allow the Jhin, the Zerath, and the Graves to get a lot of damage off.
That's it, and I don't think Triumph can stop any of this as Dark Bindings does come through, just make sure Sasuke doesn't step over, but the Warwick coming in, let's see if he does use Infinite Duress to try to ping anyone, but the Black Shield just puts him away, and the Aatrox does get the knockup, has to use it to get away, and they're getting chunked here. Zerath ult coming in, huge amount of damage without Luden's Echo and Morellonomicon.
It's got one more shot.
Oh,
Graves stole
pick it up with the
kill secure, kill secure. So they don't
They
actually
are
have their
pushing.
Baron Soul, not Baron Soul, sorry, their Baron on them anymore. So it is actually quite hard for them to pressure at the very end. But the best thing you can do right now is start setting up these inhibitors. If they can force 3 inhibitors, it's very, very hard for Red Team to get out of their base. Actually, his Thresh lands a hook.
GNW is getting it, but he does get a Death Sentence, and they do this fight, but not enough damage coming through as Jhin laying on that damage in the background, but Graves is too strong with that 12 kills, 1 death, and 8 assists, 700 gold, really keeping his team in the game there.
Yep, and you can just see that gold difference coming in. You know, they're just hitting them with their wallets, just having such a gold lead, such an item lead. Very, very hard for them to match in just a normal 5-on-5. They'd really have to look for just a dirty fight. And it was unfortunate that Warwick stood a little too far forward before, as he dances in front of his Nexus, and I believe that will be the end of the game.
GG, and what an explosive fight that was between the 2 winners of yesterday's. We knew that they were going to come out swinging, but that was just non-stop action in the mid-game through onto all carries on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. And as you can see here, you can, from the post-game stream, you can just see those item differences that Warwick wasn't able to get into a tanky spot, that Graves was able to just push his lead just to stop himself from falling off in the end. Draven itemizing fairly well. I wouldn't really criticize his build that much. I would normally take Conqueror on him, but with his press the attack, he was more looking to take it for that laning phase to try to get as much damage onto Aatrox. And he was able to really shut down the Aatrox, but unfortunately his team was not able to follow up the rest. If we have a look at the damage graphs, that's what I'm quite interested in. Oh my goodness. Look at that Zerath's damage.
That is the power when you give him 4 kills, 1k bounty over into him twice, and every single teamfight assists and kills coming through. He eventually builds those items, and you can't do anything against that poke.
Yeah, and then seeing that his front line was able to protect him, it's just... Oh, I've been told to have a look at damage taken. Damage taken. Oh, and that is a lot of damage taken by Warwick. We'll just put it down to properly frontlining. We'll just put it down to that, as I believe that I'm getting asked to come and have a post-game interview.
Let's jump you down there as we do
Sweet.
have a post-game interview.
I will just come back to you in a second. Hello, guys.
Hey, hey,
Yo.
hey.
How do we feel about this game?
Obviously,
Best game I've ever played.
Sub out a member. I don't want Timo on my team.
we were trying to be a little bit experimental, trying to test our waters a bit.
I see.
Obviously, right, there was a bit of miscommunication and draft.
Timo ADC and a first time Thresh, man. Come on.
Yeah, that was my first time on Thresh, thought I'd experiment a bit. And obviously the Timo in the bot lane was a little bit of a, you know.
I feel like that was a power pick. That Jin really got his ass. Tell me you guys saw that
Oh,
replay.
obviously, I
The
feel like our
blind really
mechanics
did
are
put him in
better.
his place. The blind really
I
did
feel
put
like
him in his place.
yeah. I feel like our mechanics were better. So
Samson, I slapped him, yeah? You
Yeah,
saw
we-
that just outside Dragon. I slapped
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
They just
Oh,
got
yeah.
lucky, let's be honest.
they got
Yeah.
lucky. Hey,
They-
we're coming to you in the finals. That's all I'm saying.
They just dice rolled. Hey, they just dice rolled. That's all they did. Well, let's
Yeah.
hope you
Orange.
can win your next game and then try to secure your spot in the finals, and then you can come back and try to kick their ass.
Wait, bruh. Pull out the Oriana jungle.
Oh, actually, I
Ooh.
might.
Rammus AD next game. Tune in.
I'm very, very interested to see it. Good game, guys. Cheers for playing with us, and I'll keep you updated on when the next round will be.
Alright, well.
Cool.
Sun Denju.
Minecraft Davers, the victors of this game. How do you feel?
Who are those
lads?
guys?
Yeah, no idea.
Feels very good. Very happy with that one.
I wouldn't be if I were you. You didn't even do 100k damage. I'm very
I
disappointed
know.
in you.
Yeah,
Like
not gonna
shit.
lie, it was really just we kind of lucked out there,
Yeah,
and
honestly, I'm
They
feeling
lost
this
that
is,
draft.
That was a nice dice roll we won.
We drew some good cards there.
Yeah, I really liked the Blue Eyes White Dragon pool. That was very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your grandfather's the deck does have no bad cards after all.
unfortunately they just got flooded. They kept drawing lands. They couldn't recover from it, and
Yeah.
that's just what happens.
Right.
Owned.
And so, how long will it take for you to be able to sub out your top laner for a more quality person?
Oh,
Ooh.
I was playing with my feet that match. It
Ah.
will happen next time.
Sorry,
His little brother's
your little brother was playing, correct? Yeah, he pushed you
Yeah.
off the.
He overpowered me. What can I do?
We had to give him a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah, very fun game. Very happy with our teamwork and coordination.
Yeah, it was very good. and it
Even
was-
though it was shit.
Well, hopefully you can keep that form and possibly get yourself into the finals. You may even face these guys again in the finals. So let's hope you keep that form and keep going.
All right, let's hope they don't go Teemo ADC again. Otherwise, it'd be another easy lane, dude.
Ooh.
Ooh, someone's
Ooh.
trash talking. I like it. All right, guys. Cheers,
Dab.
cheers for the interview. Good luck
Dab,
for the
dab,
next
dab,
games. I'll
dab.
keep you updated when the next round will be.
Alright,
Alright.
thank you. Bye-bye.
thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Sweet. And as I just jump back in with my co-host. Sweet. And I am back. Hello.
Welcome back to the casting desk. I missed you there, but I did overhear some of that interview. So a bit crazy, pulling out those weird Teemo picks. Maybe not what they wanted there at that game, but we still are in group phases. Both teams did come off a win in yesterday, so having that little time to maybe pick some weird champion, see if it works, flexing on the enemy teams, but not being able to pull off with those off-meta picks there.
Yep, and yeah, it's just seemed to turn around and just kind of bite them a bit. Hopefully they'll be able to recover from it in their next games. But it seems like everyone's enjoying themselves, having a fun time, and it'll be interesting to see if they face each other again in the final.